Welcome to the bright side of the moon, a journey of magic and wonder, and most of all, beauty.
Chapter 7 Dark Side Goes on the Road. Japanese Tour 1972. Between the 2 weeks it took to record the album, the Floyd did gigs in Japan. It was a long flight. Most of us took some Mandy's, which is a sleeping pill, a very happy sleeping pill, which always made me giggle until I fell asleep. Japan was different than France, and it was another culture shock that this American had at the time. I often felt we were living a modern-day shogun walking down the streets with our long hair and different accents. When we first arrived at the airport, there was a banner hanging over the door at the terminal saying, "Welcome, Pink Floyd." The Japanese had difficulty in pronouncing our L's, and it seems even writing it. We had a large bus to our hotel, and David was sitting next to the window. There was a surge of people towards the bus, flashing cameras everywhere. David noticed that one of the girls had forgotten to take off her lens cap, so he was pointing to her through the window that separated them, trying to tell her. She got so excited that he acknowledged her that she did not notice until the bus drove away. She slumped in a pile of tears at the opportunity on the side of the road. No photos, but she did have a memory that David Gilmour had acknowledged her. On this tour, the Floyd were testing out Dark Side of the Moon in preparation to finish recording it when they got home. On the first night, the audience did nothing after each song. We didn't quite understand because the gig was really great. One thing we had to adjust to was that the Japanese audiences showed no emotion during the concert. We came to realize that this was a sign of respect. Putty and I were extremely perplexed, for we were used to the American audiences who were freely expressing their feelings, stadiums lit by little flames of their lighters, which I always loved, thousands of them adding to the beauty that they had just heard. We were sitting at the mixer, our sanctuary, we thought, and once the gig was finished and the last note played, the audience went berserk. Their behavior was like chalk and cheese, accompanied with screams and tears of rapture filled the air. Like ants, they fled their broken nests and they descended towards the mixer. The roadies and the sound engineer, Pete Watts, surrounded us and got us to safety backstage. Phew, but it wasn't over. We left the back of the hall where our limos was waiting. They descended, trying to get their stars in a mad fever. I pushed David into the car before me, blocking their grasping hands, trying to grab his t-shirt. I became the protector. My lioness arose from the depth of my heart to enable me to have the strength to stop them until they reached the safety of the limo. The drivers had the engines ready to go once we were all safe inside. The limo slowly pierced the desperate waiting crowd in convoy, their hands wiping against the windows as we left them behind, making our way back to the hotel. In that moment, I began to understand a bit about what the Beatles had experienced every day from the mania stirred from their idolatry as my adrenaline calmed. The last gig was in Sapporo, where the Winter Olympics in 1972 was held. And the Floyd decided that they wanted to go down the main skiing part of the mountain. I sat at the bottom. I have never gone skiing before, but they had. Well, David sort of had. And I sat watching them coming down, holding my breath, because I don't think their insurance company would have liked it very much. But fearless Floyd, and there they went and survived. The gig was great, and then we had the journey back to England, and they went back into the studio to finish recording Dark Side of the Moon. Japan taught me quite a lot about inner silence, though it took many years for me to integrate it more into my being. We went on to Kyoto and went around various different shoguns' houses. And there was one, they weren't quite a house, they were quite big. And there was a very, very wonderful one that when you walked down the hallway, which were boards, loads of tourists, we were together walking down the hallway, and there was the sound of nightingales. And apparently this was like their burglar alarm, because at night, if anyone were walking down the hallway when everyone was asleep, they would know that a burglar was coming, or maybe even an assassin. So, really beautiful. And apparently the gardener, before he even planted anything, he sat in the garden through all of the seasons before he would decide what had to be there and what wasn't. Magical. It really is magical. I have to say that I've become a sushi addict. I even grew bonsai trees for a period of time. It touched my heart, their simplicity of their art and their way of living. And I've studied a lot about their Zen philosophy. I think we need to start living a little bit of that ourselves. So I will see you in chapter 8. Thank you.